Hey guys, Justin here. Welcome to the Coliseum. Quick note, this lap is going to be a first lap, but I think second lap works as well. And this is going to be third gear, so let's get right to it. Alright, let's take a look at that. So as you can see here, this is going to be a third gear lap, and I'd like to do it on the first. I think you can do it on the second as well, but I think it's just as possible on the first. So the run up, nothing crazy. We're just going to park it by the wall and then turn off the wall and then full throttle, because the low revs in third gear means that you don't have to be that careful on the throttle, on the exits, if you're just looking to do run ups and hot laps and that sort of thing. So we'll see here, right up by the wall, and then once you can turn off the wall into a straight line, then do that. Okay, we'll take a look at that here. So I kind of aim for those bush signs, and then I turn off the wall by the advanced auto parts signs, and then I'm full throttle pretty much the whole way. Okay, so that's a good run up, but guess what? Run up doesn't matter too much because I am on the brake just after the start finish line. If you go like more than a beat past the start finish line, you are screwed. You're not making the bottom. So brake early and aim for the curb, but we need to be doing the brake line in as straight of a line as possible, because in this brake bias, if you have too much wheel into it, like let's say if my tape was like right here, I would be spinning, my rears would kick out. So our hard braking needs to be done in a straight line. And this is why we're braking this early, because we need to brake in a straight line. So you see, I am 50-60% brake. You won't see me get much more brake than this ever. And this is all why it needs to be in a straight line. Any much more than this, I'm going to start locking up the tires. I found that this like 60-ish% brake at this brake bias will be the sweet spot between kicking out the rears and locking up the tire. So you see here, I find it to settle around 50 as I start entering the corner. And then once I turn in, so you notice, wheel completely correlated with the brake. Wheel turns, brake goes down. So we back our brake down to about 25-30%. Actually, no, even less than that. So the more we turn our wheel, the less brake we can use. Because as we turn our wheel, the threshold for the brake to lock up gets lower and lower. So I'm basically reacting or kind of matching my brake with my wheel so that I never lock up, aiming for my lefts to be on this rumble right here, just to kind of get a little hook. I feel it hook a little bit down there, and I don't know if it actually does or if I'm just making the track a little shorter, but if you go all 4 tires through the rumble, then you don't get the same turn. So 2 tires max on the rumble. See that? It just looks like it hooks a little bit, and that's what I was feeling, and I could be wrong, but it just feels like there's a little hook. And then as I pick up the gas, you go instantly to about 60%. You're like, wait, what the heck? I'm going to hit the wall. We're going so slow. 42 miles an hour. It's fine. It's no problem for it. And then the big thing with short tracks too, don't go full throttle until your wheel is beginning to get straight. The slower you're going on tracks like these, you don't have to abide by that as much, but you can see that I wait to really go up more on my throttle until my wheel starts unloading. And I get a little loose, but getting a little loose there is fine because it's nothing that you can't handle. Okay, going into 3 and 4, same exact idea. I think I might have overdriven entry a tiny bit here. This is a huge problem with using relative on these short tracks, is that your braking point is pretty much where the sector ends. You don't want to go much further past it. So if you're worrying about it, then you're going to miss your next corner. So I get on the brake, same thing, find that sweet spot between kicking out the rears and locking up. The more you turn, the more that you lower your brake. So you see I'm getting loose on entry because I overdrove the corner a bit. So the reason that I was getting loose on entry here was because my braking point was just a little too late. So you want to be braking even earlier than I am, probably like right here. So I started to right here, but I probably want to be full on the brakes by there. And that's the difference. Okay, but I was able to wrangle it in somehow. And then same idea. We're backing our brake down as our wheel turns. Wheel turns, brake back down. Left side's hooked on the curb. And then back to half throttle once you reach just about the apex of the corner. Maybe a little bit further because of how tight this is. But basically what I'm looking for is that my car is not just going straight anymore. Under braking, the car will feel like it's just wanting to go straight even if you're turning the wheel. There's a point where you feel it starting to actually want to rotate, and that's the point where you can add the gas into it. Okay, so that's kind of where I put the partial in. Then same thing, waiting for full until I begin to unload my wheel. Gets a little loose, but we had such an aggressive entry that our exit didn't really hurt us. So we'll take a look at that one more time at speed. A little bit too late of a braking point, causes us to have to wrangle the car. Left side's hook on the curb. Keep it down there as long as you can, then full throttle off the corner and deal with the looseness for a hot lap. Drive it through. All right, did a pretty good long run here, so let's go talk about how the tires wear and what to look for. All right, so I did a 39 lap long run here, which is longer than you will ever do in this race because there's going to be a billion cautions in each race. And on 96, 97, I don't think tire wear is that much of an issue. So let's just talk about how the car behaves as the run goes on, because honestly, I was running lap times between like a tenth or two for the entire run, but the car does feel differently the longer you go. So we'll talk about how it feels at the beginning. I'll go to like lap 5, for instance. And let me turn down the sound here. So the huge thing about long run here is don't let yourself race to the start finish line. What I mean by that is I am off the gas at the start finish line just about. If you subconsciously are trying to drive through the start finish line, you will overdrive the corner 100% of the time. You just don't have enough braking power to make the inside if you are powering through the start finish line. So you see, I smoothly get off the gas, as smooth as I can, and then get right on the brake, right about to 50%. And you see I'm just going to aim right at the curb pretty much. So the thing about using these curbs is that you want to use the curbs to hook the car. You do not want to drive through them. Because of the rumbles, when you have all 4 tires over them and driving through it, you are pretty much just going straight. You can't get much turn out of it. So just the best way to approach these corners is just to dip your left sides into it and kind of use it to hook your car a little bit and then get back on the throttle. And really, the inputs are not that fancy. So half brake, let out, and then get back into almost full throttle, and then when the wheel is straight, full throttle. And then it's just a rhythm. So you see I kind of went all 4 below there, and I was slow on exit because I had to wait on it. I could have gone a little earlier if I only had 2 dipped. And then I tried to, okay, then here's an instance. So here, I was like, oh, I had a bad corner there. I'm going to try to overcompensate. So I drove way too far in. And now I'm just missing the bottom because I can't get the turn in. So it's all about that entry. You have to be super disciplined and brake at your correct points. So you see I missed it twice in a row. And I'm like, okay, I got to reset. So now I brake at the right time. Well, not even. It wasn't great. It was good enough, but it wasn't great. Well, do I overcompensate here? No, that's a good brake. And then I make the bottom easily. And let's see. So that was pretty disciplined, so I can get to the bottom. And that's really the only difference between the laps that I go fast and the laps I go slow. Is am I overdriving the entrance? Because it's really not that crazy besides that one part. And then the thing that'll be different as the run goes on is you don't get as much turn center, and then also you start getting a little loose on exit. So this is late in the run, lap 30. You see here how it just doesn't really want to turn off the corner as much as it did earlier. So I don't get the revs as high. And sometimes dipping below is kind of okay. But it depends on if the car tells me to go down there. This one, I was able to use the car's looseness a little bit Then I overdrove this, but somehow came out of it really fast. So I got a really fast lap time, even though it was super sketchy. But other than that, you see it's just really not missing the bottom there, and the car starts to get a little loose on exit. So you can't be stomping the throttle as hard on exit at the end of your run. You see here how loose I got. Then let's look at that one more time. So you see I did my normal kind of stomp throttle because we're really low in third gear right here. So on new tires, you can stomp and be completely fine. But on these a little bit worn in tires, a little hotter, if you stomp, you'll lose your rears. So just be a little mindful of that as you get later into the run. And so you see overcompensating. Oh, I made the bottom. But then you see I gassed up too early. So you see I don't get as good of rotation center. So I use my normal timing to gas up in center too early. Need to be on the brake for longer. So just a little bit longer brake on a late run. Yeah, and so pretty much how it is on long run, same line that you're aiming for, it just won't get as good of turn in the center and you'll get loose off. But still have the goal for the same things. If you find yourself getting loose under braking on entry, you need to back up your braking point or raise your brake bias, and I recommend backing up your braking point. But we'll see here, we end the run on a couple 14 flats, 13.99, so we can stay in that 14 flat range for seemingly most of the run. Gets a little sketchy. You see, it just does, the lines just don't look as clean as they did earlier, and that's just because the car doesn't want to turn as much. I probably could aim to be on the brake a little longer, but that's also a little slow. Then we'll come into the last lap here. One more lap here, brake early, aim it on the white, rotate it on the curb, only 2 wheels on it, loose off the corner, brake early, aim 2 wheels at the curb, try to hook it, and 13.999. So that was a pretty good run. Liked what I felt there, but then again, I don't think you're going to get more than 10 green flag laps in one of these freaking races. So good luck to you all. Maybe I'll see you out there.